Welcome back to the Women Consulting Corporate Podcast. I'm your host, LizJSimpson, and today is an extra special episode because we're going to talk about a topic that's top of mind for so many women, which is how do I intentionally build a life by design, a life of harmony? We're going to say harmony because I think balance is for the birds. I'm tired of that word. But let's talk about building harmony. And I could not think of any better guests than these two women alongside me. We have Kelley Lawson, our Director of Operations here at Stimulus, and Cheryl Parks, our Sales and Client Success Coach. And I just want to have a really candid conversation with both of you about how we built that life by design. I don't think it's a one-time act. I think it's something that you're continually reassessing as we shift and evolve as women, as our businesses evolve, as our life evolves, and just making sure that we have that congruency. I'd love to start out with introductions, though, because I think too often people know about us through our movement, but they don't know about who we are as women and the lives that we lead. I will start out. I am a mom and a wife. My husband's name is Logic. We've been married for a decade. Come May of 2023, what is that, next year? 2023 will be a decade that I've been married. I have a 6-year-old Legacy. I have a 17-year-old Trinity, and I have an 18-year-old son, Ray Sun. So my oldest is graduating high school in a few months, which feels crazy. And then I have another one graduating right beside. And then we have this company where we have hundreds of women who are clients. Many people don't know we consult. So we actually have consulting projects. We have hundreds of women that we coach. And so I live a very full life. And my husband is an entrepreneur. And we homeschool my 6-year-old. So I'm giving you seeds. We're going to talk about harmony in a second. But if you're a mom, if you've homeschooled, if you led a business, you're married to an entrepreneur, you kind of see some warning signs showing up. So that's my life. Cheryl, Kelley, which one of you wants to go next?
Yes, as for me, I'm a mom, a wife, and a mom of 4 girls. So I've got a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. So Adea, Alexa, Reagan, and Riley. And they are my heart and my soul. And they are what keeps me busy outside of the work that I get to do with Stimulus. And so, but at Stimulus, I'm the Director of Operations, where I support the team with operations and making sure that the business runs like a well-oiled machine while you all deliver and show up for the clients.
And I have to give credit. So, Director of Operations, I don't think is always the best. I don't think either of your titles really give you credit. If we were a much larger company, Kelley would be our president. Like, Kelley runs our business. I have this aspiration that as we grow in size, our titles will grow with the size of the company. So I just want to give credit. Like, she's everybody's boss, really.
She makes it happen.
She does. Now, what about you, Cheryl?
So I am Cheryl, and I'm married to Skip. He is my best friend, lifelong partner, and husband. We have 4 adult children, thank God. They are 32, 28, 25, and 21. They are all out in the world living their best lives. We have no children and 1 grand dog that was left behind when they went to live their best life. So you can come get your dog, AJ. I have the joy on a daily basis working with Stimulus. I get to work with the members that come in and sometimes are a little bit gun shy about getting out there and speaking to the corporate buyers. And I watch them intentionally and strategically grow their own businesses. And it's just, I don't know. I can't even explain what a blessing it is to watch everyone grow the way that they do.
And I have to put respect on Cheryl's name as well, because we have 2 client and sales success coaches, Cheryl and Heather. And Cheryl was the first, which means, I don't know. I think Cheryl might have had it a little bit harder at first, because when I launched the movement and I was the only coach coaching the women, candidly, at first, I had the belief that many experts have, which is no one can deliver the results other than me. And it was Kelley who
challenged
me to discern maybe someone else could do it. And I think you are such a blessing and a gift. And I literally could not ask for a better safe space for our women, not only because you care more than anyone I know, but also because you have a badass background and you can back it up. Do you know what I mean? And so many people see the client-facing side of you as coaching, But what many people don't know is you're also a thought partner, right? And so when we consider the design of the program and our strategies and how we coach, so much of that happens in conversations. We were joking that Cheryl's down like 4 flats. Like, I don't know if Cheryl knows what she signed up for, but it was like, oh, you want to be a coach? Okay, we're going to be in Miami next week. And then you're going to go to Salt Lake City every quarter. Now we're going to Mexico and you'll be in Puerto Rico in 4 weeks. Like,
It's a really rough life. It is. It's rough. It's rough out here.
I love it. But with that being said, with all of us having so many responsibilities and life experiences, I'd be curious for what both of your perspectives are on, like, what does building a life by design even mean to you? I'll start with you, Cheryl. Like, what does that even mean to you, and how have you been intentional about that?
So we were speaking about this a little bit earlier with regard to the destination and understanding that the journey should feel like the destination. So when you get there, it's aligned.
Yeah.
If your journey doesn't feel like the destination that you're visualizing, you should reassess the journey and or reassess your desired destination. So at the end of the day, for me personally, it's continually taking inventory of where I am, what I'm doing, and what's the desired outcome. And that's very similar to what we teach in the program. Mm-hmm. It's a very simple formula. If you can just stay focused on what is the outcome that you're looking for, and then assess if what you're doing is getting you there or is it taking you off the path. And if it takes you off the path, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just intention is the key word, right? You shouldn't be unintentionally off your path and then looking up to say, how did I get over here? And or you can do something with that, right? So we've heard members that come in and they go off path and they go off-roading and then they're like, wait a minute. Oh, I'm listening to what's going on. There's a need here. So it's just a matter of not thinking you're going, I tell people, if you're packing to go skiing, your suitcase should not have bathing suits and, beach towels in it. Like just check yourself.
I like that you said that about checking like your baggage and what you're doing. We, Kelley and I recently went to the Tony Robbins Unleash Your Power Within. And it was really interesting because we did this exercise about values. And values isn't new to most people. But for whatever reason in that season, I was really paying attention to what words I was saying my values were. And the interesting thing is, you pick these words and then you have to assess, are the actions that you're taking on a daily basis aligning with what your theology or your it's not theology. What is the word? Is it theology the word?
I think so.
Your principle of like what you want your values to be. And so when I was at Tony Robbins' event and we go through all these exercises, and when I kept thinking about like going through all these exercises about what's most important to me, my husband and kids kept coming up. Like who I am as a woman, who I am as a wife, my identity, the legacy I'm building with my husband, which marriage is so freaking hard. Nobody told me this shit is so hard, but it's so hard, and parenting is hard. And so I was looking at, okay, on one hand, I see that this is the most important thing to me, but my daily life, is it reflecting those values? And I realized that a lot of what I was doing is I'm an achiever. Like I'm such an achiever, like achievement. And it was interesting because Tony did this exercise where he talked about, for so many achievers, it's like you're looking for love, or you're looking to be good enough to be loved, or to consider that you're enough. And so long story long, the question I was asking myself is, if I believed that I am loved today, if I believed I'm good enough, if I believed I didn't need another achievement to be whole, how would I show up? Would I still be chasing achievements the way that I am? And it was interesting because I still think I'm an achiever, but it caused a shift in my perspective of like, why are you going hard? And why do you have to go hard to this level if you already are at the destination?
It's interesting because so many entrepreneurs, I don't think they understand that you get to choose. Like that's why we went into entrepreneurship, and that's why we took the leap to leave our 9-to-5s or leave corporate jobs, because you get to choose. You don't have to model a mini corporate in your own brand. Like you get to say, I want to spend every Friday with my kids and have that be the boundary in your business. And then from there, like, what does that need to look like? What does Monday through Thursday need to look like for that to be true? And so from the operations perspective, which I love, I love to help Liz specifically. Like when we think about the vision, I always want to bake in, when we're thinking about 2023, for example, I always want to bake in, when are your blackout dates? When are you going to go on vacation? When are we going to have a quiet week and shut down the business just so that we can focus on streamlining operations or cleaning up the back end of the business? And so I think that's really interesting as well. I'd love to bring that perspective into the conversation.
And I appreciate that. I think you're giggling because you know that's a battle with me.
Yes.
Like, I was working Monday through Wednesday. That's how I built the business. I was working Monday through Wednesday only. And Kelley came in and I hadn't planned a family vacation yet. And Kelley was like, when's your vacation date? And I was like, girl, bye. Like, we'll figure that out later. Like, focus on the money, right? And she's like, no, ma'am. Like, we are blacking out these dates. Like, when are you taking your family on vacation? And I know that's one thing that you've been such a blessing for me. And my perspective has been like, I'll never forget when you told me, you were like, your vision of success in your role was like, I want Liz Monday, Wednesday again. Like, and because the business has grown, and I don't think as businesses we talk enough about fast growth. I think people glamorize fast growth so much, and a fast growing business will take you out.
Absolutely.
Right. And so our business, I was working Monday through Wednesday, we hit momentum and our business took off like a high speed train. And it has been like, it is a battle to fight for the lives that we want. Like, because it's like sometimes I'll be drowning and then I come up for air and I'm like, oh shit, Kelley, what are we doing? What do we want? And how do we shift the business to fit that?
Yeah.
I'm curious too for you, I always want to know, because somehow like you have 4 babies and a husband and you over here mothering me, everybody on the team. Like, how do you manage it all?
I delegate, and I have to get really good about delegating things in my family life, my home life, and at work so that I can show up and do all the things. So I know that the answer to who is not always going to be me. So like, yes, I would love to come home to a clean house and cooked meals and have, weekends with my husband, and also show up for Liz in a way that I know she needs to feel that support. And so I am a master delegator, and I think that's the only way I can get stuff done. So yes, I do have unapologetically support in my home, where I hired a housekeeper, and she comes bi-weekly, and my kids have chores and they know what to do. They get home and it is business. And so I run my home life like a business. And so that's that's been the biggest shift for me in being able to see like a full plate, a full load of things that I need to do and how I'm going to get them all done.
Yeah.
I love that.
What about you? How do you, because I know even with us, we're not your only commitment, and we're a growing commitment. We're always like, Cheryl, so can you do this? Like, we're always asking you for more, which I do. I say it jokingly, but I really appreciate your willingness to support. But how, in this season, what do you want your life to look like? How are you making sure you design it that way?
So I really came through what I call corporate trauma. I think we speak to it. We all have our own nuance of what that meant to us. And for a few years, I was like, okay, I'm not going back over there, right? Because you feel like you've been traumatized and you weren't able to show up or didn't show up for yourself. There's a little bit of both there. So just in terms of the way I design my life, it's like I want to be able to have freedom. That's a big word. People use it quite a bit. I've been fortunate. I've been in sales since the beginning of time. Like I've been in sales for 25 years. I always was able to date during the middle of the day. Like that was always, there was always flexibility.
Say that more because they don't understand. I know, but people don't realize especially field sales agents, like maybe 15 hours of sales, but I'm getting my nails done. Salespeople have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah. Okay. I just read a report. Salespeople spend 74% of their time doing activities that are not sales related. And that does include getting your nails done. You got to show up, right? So there is a part of me that's like, I want the freedom for, whatever day of the week I'm taking off, or to be able to work from anywhere and to work with fantastic clients and candidly want them to feel like they are my only client. Like I don't want this jockeying back and forth, that kind of thing. And so it's living the way I want to live. I show up and I do what I want when I want.
So. I love that. Cheryl is goals.
Yeah.
I'm counting. Legacy is 6. I'm like 12 years, 11 years, 10 years, 9 years. I'm like, who told us to hit the reset button? I got one day. I'm like, we could have been done.
Could have been
done. Playing with my life. No, I'm just playing. I love you, baby. So So I'm going to say, like, for me, designing my life is very challenging. And it takes, I think for me, there's a few things that have to happen. One, while I'm leading this fast growing business that has its own momentum, I am changing as a woman. Like I have a 17 and 18-year-old, which means the mother that they need from me is different. The relationship is different. We've had some traumatic situations that have happened. My babies, I call the 17 and 18-year-old are all babies. So if you're a mom, you understand. They all babies. I don't care how old they are. They all babies, right? So don't be confused. So the 17 and 18-year-old, those babies have different needs. And so I'm navigating that. I have a 6-year-old who is incessant ball of energy. Like from the moment she wakes up until she passes out, has all the needs. My marriage is evolving. I'm a different person. So it's like, I have to, one, carve out time just for me, right? Like time that I'm journaling, I'm praying, I'm in meditation. It was a major investment. We had a pool built in our backyard because I'm like, I needed that. And it's a big investment just for peace of mind. But I'm like, I need a pool so I can swim, so I can be in the hot tub, because you all know that I'm a water baby. Anyone who knows me knows that I will only travel to places with water. And when I'm there, don't talk to me because I'm literally swimming. I have no hair for a reason. So I needed that, like that time to swim, to think, and to figure out like, who am I today? Because I'm changing every day. And then to give myself permission to change my mind, right?
Yes.
And I think Jack Canfield has the book, The Success Principles, and it's one of my, like that, this equation changed my life. And it said, event plus response equals outcome. And I realized I can't change the events in my life per se, but if I change my response to them, I can shift the outcome. And so I definitely feel like I'm in the driver's seat of my life. And so I give myself permission to say, this is the life I want. Okay, these are my circumstances today. What decisions do I need to make? How do I need to respond to events to create that outcome? And so, for instance, my kids, my 17 and 18-year-old, we talked about this. I was intentional about, okay, I got a couple years left. I need to be around them more. So we were an evergreen rolling admission to our program. We made a shift to a cohort model. A big part of that shift was because of results and quantifying impact and partnerships. But if I keep it a buck, a part of that was for our sanity. Like our program is fast moving and we designed the cohort. So as a team, we could say, hey, July, August, September, we can be off. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, and have a space for us to live our lives. That was a major decision. I don't think people knew. I had to restructure my team. Like we made cuts to our team. We shifted our program. We invested a lot for that shift for a different quality of life, right? Life by design. And then even like with working hours, I have family therapy with, my 17-year-old. I have my 18-year-old, signing him up for therapy with my husband. Like it takes a lot to make sure there's a harmony in that. What were you going to say, Cheryl?
Yeah. I was just going to, before we jump off of evergreen versus cohort, I think there may be people that don't understand that evergreen basically is like the door is more or less open at certain times. And there's this influx of, membership, right? And then to go to a cohort model is more like everyone will join at one time. They will go through the stages of success. And then they will more or less graduate from the program. And so when you're evergreening, literally, it's just the focus is on launches. If you're, just a little background. So just to give a little background to that, the evergreen piece is considered to be an open door, so to speak, but it's launch after launch after launch. And there's so much that goes into it. Kelley could speak to that part. But
And we're always on.
Yeah.
We care. So I don't think people have any clue how much we care. Like, we care so much. To have an evergreen model means that we had special election periods based off of application, but it meant every month of the year, women were joining our program, which means everyone's ending at different dates, which means as a company, we're like, when does it ever end for us? Yeah. When do we ever breathe? Not even just for lifestyle, but also when do we have a month to take the data from what we're doing to recalibrate, call audibles, and improve the program, right? And so that was a big decision. Like, all right, if it's a cohort, they graduate, we can breathe, and then now we can take what we learn and implement it.
Shifting the discussion back to the women consultants who are feeling this pressure to find balance between their kids and their marriage and their life and their clients. Where do you think that pressure is coming from? And how, if there's a woman out there that's listening, how do you think she can get out of and break that cycle?
You really have to unlearn what you've learned.
Yep.
Society has taught us certain things. The media teaches us certain things. To live the life you want, you may have to unlearn quite a bit. And it could be in the 90 percentile. Like unlearn. Yeah. Figure out where you learned all of this. Like, where did you learn that a bride should wear a white dress?
Right.
Like, I looked all that up before I got married. Like, what is this garter thing about? What are we doing? Like, what are we really doing?
Why are we doing this?
Right. And why? What's really important? And so just to understand that and be able to say to yourself, well, that's meaningless to me, so I'm not focused over there. And that way we can kind of shed some of the, I'll call it baggage, or some of the weight that we feel from the decisions that we think we're supposed to make. When those decisions are, it's just things that we bring with us, you know, and it's a natural evolution of what we bring with us.
It makes me think of the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Like, so many of us are living with agreements that we've never consciously made for ourselves. And we're living a life like blindly to these agreements. And so one of my favorite quotes is that success is not one size fits all. It has to be custom tailored to you. And so I think the simplest thing, but also the hardest thing, is to actually have awareness of what you want. Right. Like that, because that's the thing no one can tell you. Right. Like that's the thing you have to come with. I just had a conversation with the woman who was joining the program. And her question to me was like, well, if corporate is buying all these things, what should I sell them? How should my business look? And I had to stop her. And I said, let me be very clear about who we are as a program. We are great for you coming with a vision and we helping you find where the money resides. But I am not God. I'm not playing God. And I'm not going to tell you what is for you. You have to come with the laundry list of, I want a business where I'm off 3 months and I want to do this. And this is my vision and this is my skill set. And it's like, you come with the ingredients and we help you to build a recipe where the money is. And so I think part of it is having the awareness of what you want. And then 2, I think, is just being into like auditing, like every season, even if it's a quarter, it's like, okay, let me look at the last 3 months. What's the life I've been living? What do I want my life to look like? And what are the changes I have to make? And the last thing I'll say is like, making a decision to actually live the life you want. There's a belief system that has to, and I think that comes to what you were saying about unlearning. Like, it's taken years, but I believe that all things are working for my good. And I literally believe that I should have a life where every day I enjoy what I'm doing. I do not believe that it has to be misery or struggle or trauma. I think it's going to come along the way, but I believe that it's like, oh, if ice cream will make me happy today, I think it'll be ice cream then, because I should be happy. Like I should be able to, you know, with healthy, right, and healthy boundaries. But I think you have to believe that, like, I have permission to live the life I want. And sometimes it's, I wonder how you all feel like about relationships. Like when we made shifts in our business, we had to have some difficult conversations.
Absolutely. And I think that another thing I love that what you guys challenge our clients to do and what you challenge the team to do, Liz, is to not compartmentalize certain parts of our lives. So like, it's like, yes, you're a mom and you put the mom hat on, but how can we incorporate our children into the business? How can, like, what could they be doing? How can we show them that, yes, mommy is on her computer all day, but here's what you can be doing to support this, and here's what I'm doing, and like bringing those worlds together so that we don't feel the pressure to like, okay, taking my work hat off and putting on my mommy hat, and now I got to put my wife hat on, and just juggling all these hats unnecessarily.
Yeah, and not having to hide.
Yes,
that was a big part of my involvement in my own corporate trauma, because I was a never married single mom. That there's a different stigma to never married single momming.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a big thing, is I was always hiding. I wasn't a people pleaser. I was a judgment avoider. So I was always trying to curtail the conversation so the next question wouldn't come, right? Yeah. You're talking about family and wives and kids. I need to go to the bathroom.
I'm gone. Yep, because I see this coming.
Yeah.
I already know it's coming around. So being able to show up in your full self, that's like key.
Absolutely.
So
and I think managing expectations, like once you've made the decision, like, Nidra's book, No Boundaries, No Peace? Oh, I was so pissed reading that book. That book took, if you know me, you know I consume books. I'll read a book in 2 hours and be done. I read a couple pages. I was like, bitch, let's go back on the shelf. Like, no, thank you. You calling me out about my unhealthy, like, I'm not even kidding. That book took me like 6 to 8 months because I was so angry because it was showing me all my unhealthy boundaries. But like realizing you can manage expectations, like, and I have to reach out, like, I almost want to tell, I'm like, let me see if I want to tell this story. But when you find, like, you are not a victim of your business or your clients. Like, you can actually first of all, set those expectations from day one. Like, you are managing expectations from your first conversations with them, from the scope. When you hear things that are, hinging upon boundaries, you can communicate. Absolutely. I would love to support you with that. I'm hearing 3 different priorities. I can focus on one. Which is the priority that you want me to focus on? Or I hear these other line items that would actually be a different scope of work. Gladly. I want to match your energy and your timeline so I can get that scope of work over to you. Is if you can just expedite that invoice immediately, I can match your energy and timeline. So it's not saying, oh no, you're doing too much. It's like, yes, I'll match it. Here's the cost to match it. What's the priority? What's the timeline? Something's going to have to be, sacrificed. But like, that's communication. Like, you have to communicate that to people and then letting them know there's a price for the urgency, like, and then expanding. But I think a lot of it is just managing expectations and communicating it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's 100%. The communication and knowing how to communicate and with whom. Right. And how much? How much communication do you need to have? Do you need to be telling the person everything else that you have going on?
Yes.
Or are we staying focused on what it is the client's trying to get to? Yeah.
Even having boundaries with yourself. And like a lot of the women in the program come in and they are doing this limiting belief stuff and this negative self-talk. And it's like, okay, yes, for a season. Yes, we understand the trauma that you went through. But then there just has to be a cutoff where you're like, okay, but now I'm making a different choice, a different decision, and setting boundaries with yourself is really key.
Yeah, I agree. I love that you bring that up, because whether you come in with the limiting beliefs or whether you have boundaries and then the business takes you by storm, I think we all have to be empowered to know that we can make a new decision for us in every single moment.
Right.
Like, that was my decision a minute ago. 60 seconds later, I think I'm making a new decision for myself. And so I think the easy part is deciding to do something different for yourself. And then for a short amount of time, it just might be uncomfortable to act on that decision, right? Like, so, okay, I'm going to decide that I want my business to look like this and my life to look like this. Okay, dang, I might have to have an uncomfortable conversation with my partner. All right, I have some clients that I'm going to have some uncomfortable conversations with. But the beauty is, once that's done, it's done. It's like a short season of discomfort for a more fulfilling life. And who you'll become in the process of that is what's most important. I'll say our business has been through so many ups and downs, letting go of team members, hiring team members, taking on clients, saying no to clients, holding boundaries. And so what happens is it's like a muscle. The more uncomfortable conversations you have, the more uncomfortable actions that you take, it's not as hard anymore. And then when your life is out of alignment, like it's so uncomfortable, it's like a rubber band. You're like, oh, wait, no, I didn't like my day. No, thank you. This is not the life I want. No, thank you. We're going to change this tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what you have to do is just make those decisions and be willing to act on them.
100%. And we have members that have done that. I think of one member who she's a 6-figure plus. She was so excited to hire, and she hired and realized that after about 80 or 90 days, it might have not been the best hire, mm-hmm. and had to make another decision. And so then you go through this process of kind of kicking yourself and saying, I rushed. That wasn't the right person. How did I miss it? And those are the times that we get to shore women experts up and say, you knew what you knew, and now you know something different. And that decision would be different the next time. There are women that come in and from time to time feel like they bit off more than they could chew. I've seen messages where it's like, I'm not sure I'm in the right place. And then they stay and they realize, a month, 6 weeks, it's like, this is the right place.
I love those.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because anytime we do something new, it's new, it's different. And our bodies are designed to protect us. Mm-hmm. So the first thing it wants to do is say, well, that's hard. What do you mean you're not going to sit on the couch and flip the remote? Like, you're going to learn something? No. Mm-hmm. So as you flex your muscle and you build the muscle for learning and for being uncomfortable, I think that's the key, like to your point. And that's when you start to make decisions as if it's, you can start to say, that's not for me because it's not taking me to my ultimate destination.
And I think that's also where the grace steps in. Mm-hmm. There's a shout out to Ashley, one of our clients, who, when she came in the door with hating her business. Yeah. And she hated her business because she was overworking and underpaid. And it's like most of us, we know the answer. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes you just need a sounding board, like an echo chamber, And so I'll never forget, she joined. She's like, I don't even know how I'd have room for corporate clients because I don't have time. I'm underpaid. And so I'll never forget, she brought this to the Q&A call about this client, and Cheryl, Heather, and I coached her to ending the relationship, how to have that conversation tactfully, diplomatically. And she had a close relationship with this client. Mm-hmm. And so candidly, as a coach, it was one of those conversations. And I told Ashley this, I'm like, I didn't think you were going to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, we coached you on it, but the boundaries were so messy that I wasn't sure if you were going to have the courage to untangle that, right? Especially as people pleasers. And I'll never forget, a week later, she came back like with this light in her eyes, and she's like, I had the conversation with the client and she knew I was underpaid, and she celebrated my growth. But the best part is, once Ashley got rid of that client, Ashley's business is on fire. Like, by getting rid of, we call it a PITA client, pain in the ass client. By getting rid of that PITA client, it created space for the right clients. Right. And sometimes what we don't realize is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You hate your business, you're unfulfilled in your life, but you're not willing to take the action to change it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes just one step of courage gives you room for so much grace. Mm-hmm. And so, like, there are clients who want you, the right people are looking for you, but you got to get rid of the baggage right now, which I think is one of the most important pieces. So, well, I hope this episode gave you permission, if you needed it, to create the white space that you need in your life, to validate that whatever vision you have for your life, that you have permission to design it and to have conversations so that you can love your life and your business, because that's the whole point of it all. Thank you for joining us for this episode. I hope that you'll subscribe on YouTube and iTunes so that you can join us in the next episode. Thank you, Cheryl and Kelley, and we'll see you on the next one.